What's good, y'all? I'm here to talk about the buffs and changes I've made for Gumshoos. Before I explain the abilities and how they work, first of all, pause the video, read all the stuff you see on screen. You can get a good understanding just based on that, or at least a very baseline level of understanding. But the most important thing here is the moves, and in this ROM hack, I've reworked pretty much all the moves in the game. So I highly recommend when you're done with the video, you go to the Google Sheet and look at this move guide right here. So you can click on all these categories, and honestly, I recommend you to scroll in order and read all the move changes from there. Very important. I've also got a bunch of other resources linked down below in the description you can check out when you're done with the video. The only thing you can do now is pause and read the description with the bullet points. That'll give you background information if you're new here, but everything else I would recommend doing after the video so it doesn't screw up my watch time. Yeah, if you like supporting my ROM hack, supporting my efforts, supporting all the work I put in, make sure you drop a comment, leave a like, all that good stuff. Watch to the end. And yeah, Gumshoos. So, contrary, very straightforward, very boring, but very good. So Giga Impact, Superpower, Hyper Beam, all these moves function like Draco Meteor now. So obviously in this case, the relevant ones are Giga Impact and Superpower. Giga Impact is at 7 badges, so that's roughly, at least at this point in development, obviously this might change a year from now if you're watching this a year from now, but at this point in development, it's going to be in the mid-50s. So as early as 53, as late as 58, you'll be getting access to that, and you get Superpower guaranteed at level 50. So it's even earlier, and yeah, those are just really brainless. Choice Scarf, 77 base speed with Choice Scarf is outspeeding a lot. So flavor-wise, Gumshoos fits like a lot of different speed stats. He definitely doesn't make sense to be this slow. I get the idea. It's like he waits. He's like a patient stakeout type of Pokemon. Speaking of, stakeout's gone because this is not competitive. The AI is not hard switching literally ever, so stakeout is objectively just a useless ability for the player. Adaptability, contrary, camouflage make a much better combo, and I'll explain camouflage in a second because honestly, it's the coolest thing that he has going on in my opinion because everything else is kind of boring. It's good and it's functional and it's strong. It's just really boring. But I think camouflage makes him seem more fun to use. I mean, he's going to be an unpopular Pokemon to begin with, right? His design is pretty unappealing, pretty boring, but yeah. What was I trying to get at here? Something about his contrary... Oh, speed, yeah. So 77 base speed with Choice Scarf is outspeeding most of the game, not all. You're outspeeding base 115. So that's a very good speed tier to outspeed. And if you get a plus speed nature Gumshoos, yeah, like GG. You're outspeeding pretty much the whole game at that point, and the only thing that'll stop you is Focus Sash, Quick Claw, priority moves, which, you can always work around. At the very least, you can get like 2 to 3 kills, at the very least. And then you can always just switch out and switch back in and finish the rest of the fight off. So it's very brainless, very OP, but it's cool, for like a shitmon like this, a traditional shitmon at least, to be, fun for the end game for that cheesy stuff, but even adaptability stuff is great for the end game. Not to mention like adaptability Giga Impact is much stronger than contrary Giga Impact for the first hit. So for example, if you're just trying to knock one Pokemon out, you can just switch it in, click 150 base power Giga Impact, blow something up, and switch out. So which might be better for some fights, to be honest, because say for example the next Pokemon that comes in forces you out because it's got Sturdy or Focus Sash or something, or Quick Claw or some way to just prevent you from sweeping, then yeah, you're probably going to want to, get in and get out. So adaptability still has use late game, not to mention you have stab, adaptability, fake out, and quick attack, which is a great combo. It's much better in Sweltering Sun with the infinite use eject button, but it was just very broken, right? Because you could just constantly switch with your bulky eject button mon, and then just keep switching in and out the whole fight, and then just spam fake out into priority move. But it's still really good because it's still pretty easy to pivot risk the AI. It's pretty easy to exploit the AI into baiting certain moves to get around easier. Most Pokemon have access to at least one switch move. In this case, you have U-turn and Baton Pass, which is now minus priority Baton Pass for slow pivots. But yeah, fake out, it's actually pretty late. I mean, level 30, relatively late, because I learned that in Sweltering Sun, giving these like early game evolutions fake out or whatever, like Kricketune, Gumshoos, Diggersby, Liepard, all these like strong normal types fake out at level 20 is fucking ridiculous because they just shit on everything up until like the mid 30s, and even then it's still great, but it's like very brainless for that point in the game because a lot of the trainers still have like frailer Pokemon, so they just kill everything with fake out into quick attack. And the thing is, you can still kill shit in the late game with fake out into quick attack, especially with adaptability and a boosting item. But the really cool ability here is camouflage. So as you can read at the top of the screen, you can pause and read that, but I'll read it out loud actually. If you have already, I appreciate it. But basically, they hide and stake out their prey patiently, so I can see them using the terrain to their advantage. I don't want to read this, man. I'm just gonna explain it in my own words. Even though those are my own words, but it's just more natural to speak like off the top of my head. Yeah, I don't know. They're sort of detective guy, right? So I can see them like being sneaky and like hiding and using that terrain to like disguise themselves, even if they're not literally changing the color of their fur or anything like crazy like that. And I just also keep in mind I have to balance other normal types, right? So there are 10 pure normal types, and I have to pick 3 ability slots for all of them to make them distinct from one another. And I don't want to have any overlap. Yeah, I can't give Strongjaw's gone as well. That's another thing. Strongjaw is gone. That was repurposed into Mega Launcher because most Strongjaw Pokemon fit Sheer Force. Yeah, you can argue I could have given Sheer Force, but that's like so fucking boring when you already have Adaptability and Contrary. So ideally, I pick something with more utility to it, and Camouflage is just that. So you can do manual camouflage with grassy terrain, but I would say the main use of camouflage is setting up terrain with somebody else. Tons of Pokemon get electric terrain, psychic terrain, grassy terrain. So you can, because the thing is, how do I explain this? Look at the screen and pause, because I have more text explaining camouflage and why it's useful. Because basically, so something like this would be very niche in Sweltering Sun, right? Because no move relinner in Sweltering Sun means it's really difficult to get away with shit like this. But in this game, you have so much flexibility with your Pokemon, so it's very easy actually to abuse it. So what you can do is set up terrain with somebody else. You can eject button or just hard switch into your Gumshoos. And the thing is with Terra in this game, because you might be thinking, what's the point of using this if you can just Terra? So Terra is randomized. You can only randomize your Terra type. So you're not guaranteed, Terra Psychic, Terra Electric, Terra Grass, or Terra Fairy. If you get one of those Terra types, then it's like, yeah, Camouflage becomes slightly less useful, but it's still useful for the other 3 types. And it's just good to be able to control exactly what type you become. Not to mention you can cheese the AI in a lot of cool ways with that. It's just a very fun ability, right? You can also use it with Psychic Fangs for Psychic Fangs and Zen Headbutt, Thunder Fang and Wild Charge, Play Rough and Hoodwink and Wallop, and what's the last type? Grass. Seed Bomb and Trailblaze and Grassy Glide. Grassy Glide especially is really cool. I love that. Camouflage, yeah. Another cool thing is Adaptability plus Terra, I believe. If I remember correctly, you can become like, for example, if you get Terra Bug, hypothetically speaking, you can Terra Bug and then get Stab, Adaptability boosted First Impression, Creeping Strike, U-Turn, Lunge, stuff like that. That's just one example, but I'm pretty sure that's how that works. So that's also really cool because you can get a secondary Adaptability Stab with Terra, which makes the pure normal even more fun to play with. Young Goose is cool, Appetite is cool, because the whole thing is that, like, well, even Gumshoos likes to eat, but there's already pure normal types, fully evolved pure normal types with Appetite. If it's a Babymon, it's okay to have overlap because it's going to change, early on. For example, like Teddy Ursa also has Appetite is pure normal, and he also has Hustle, but that doesn't matter because they're babies. They're not intended to be kept for like the long haul. But Young Goose, its whole entries are all about like how much it just wants to eat. Like it just wants to eat all the time. It's never ending searching for food. It's a big eater. So Appetite, very fitting ability, and very good, right? You can use Appetite plus Laiuchi, Appetite plus Salac for attack or speed, or you can use it plus Key Berry, Moringa Berry, or Citrus Berry for bulk. Specifically, I would say those 2 are really impressive. I mean, even speed and attack are good, but adaptability and hustle are already offensive. So, yeah, using Appetite for defensive utility is really cool for early game. You can, wall some things with like Key Berry, Moringa Berry, Appetite for the early game, and that's fun. Or Citrus Berry, cool stuff like that. So. I initially had Slack off on evolution for flavor because Gumshoos' whole thing is that he's like a detective guy, like he's slow and not actually slow, but like he takes things slow and he's like patient, right? So I think making him have Yawn on evolution, for example, is kind of cool. But I've realized that Slack off is actually pretty good on Young Goose with Appetite, so I will let him have Slack off just for that, because otherwise, I don't know, it's cool to use like defensive Young Goose, early game. So let me just quickly go fix that in the game files and zoom out again as well. Go to Young Goose. So I don't really know what else to talk about. I mean, adaptability is just incredibly strong throughout the whole game. Engorge is also pretty cool. It lets you eat any berry, so you can do like Engorge, Salac Berry. It gives you +1 defenses. Engorge is essentially stuffed cheeks, right? So it gives you +1 to both your defenses now instead of +2 defense. So you engorge, you eat eat your berry, you get +1 speed or +1 defenses, whatever other stat boost you want to get on top of that +2 defenses, +1 defenses. So that's pretty cool. Not the best thing in the world, but that's why it's early on at level 35. Also, adaptability Flail with Slackberry is insane. Flail is very, very strong in an in-game context. People don't talk about that enough. You can just cheese like entire fights as long as there's no priority or sturdy or any other anti-setup stuff. You can get like 2 to 3 kills at least in a row pretty effortlessly with a 200 base power stab move with Flail, right? It's so easy to route your fights to use Flail and Reversal. In competitive, it's much riskier, but in game, it's so fucking cheesy because the AI is not going to respond properly to those moves. They don't know how to like actually fight against them. So very, very, very strong. Level 40. I threw that on there just because I don't know. These guys are like kind of underwhelming and boring, so giving them like cool tools early on is fun. Also, another cool thing with Contrary is close combat. Very niche. I don't know why you'd ever bother with that over Superpower, but it's there. If you want to try to do some funny defensive Contrary shit, in theory, it does work. Let me just fix this. Hold on. Custom. Let's put Slack off instead. Level 3 as a custom. Another way you can change your type outside of Terra and Camouflage, by the way, is a custom and Acclimate. A custom changes your type to resist whatever you resisted last. So like, it's not that good. It's situational, but it's useful for early game. And then the main star of the show is Acclimate, which is pretty good. In Sweltering, it has a Z effect, but obviously Z moves aren't a thing anymore. Hold on, I gotta type this stuff in. Z moves aren't a thing anymore, so it's not as impressive, but it still is cool because it's priority and it changes your type. So it's like kind of like Terra, right? The downside is it takes up a move slot and a turn, but it's controllable. So you can turn it into any type. For example, you're sitting in front of a Pokemon with a fighting move. You're a normal type. You click Acclimate Shadow Punch. You now become a priority ghost type, meaning like you become a ghost type before they attack you. Now you're immune to that fighting move they just clicked, and now you have Stab Shadow Punch adaptability, right? There you go. 80 base power stab adaptability ghost move. So that's pretty unique and cool. Obviously it doesn't give you any stat boost or anything, but it's a cool little thing you can try out, especially for like the earlier mid game. Hold on, I gotta fix these fucking moves. So Slack Off is now level 1, and then a custom is level 3, and then Leer is level 1. I still gonna move that forward. Okay, there we go, fix that. So I don't know, that's pretty much it, honestly. Last Resort is also very powerful with adaptability. Last Resort is now, it's a very cheesy move. So Last Resort is a guaranteed crit move that can't be used twice in a row. So it's kind of like Wicked Blow. So the thing is with Movie Learner, it's so easy to abuse Last Resort. There's no downside to ever just teaching it. So it's a massive, 210 power move. It's much stronger than even Giga Impact. The downside is you can't spam like Choice Scarf Last Resort. You have to get one kill, then switch out, then switch back in. But, that's still really good with adaptability, also very early on level 47, so that's all really fun. Obviously Scarf Double Edge adaptability is good. Endeavor stuff can be useful. That's some cool coverage, tons of coverage actually. I don't know why I said some cool. You have literally coverage for basically every type you could ever want to be. So all that's really good. Hopefully I sold you a bit more on Gumshoos. Also stat-wise, so in Sweltering he is faster because I see him being a little bit faster, but I think the speed set makes more sense for him, and then also it lets me make him bulkier, which is cool for like camouflage stuff. And then also it just balances Contrary more. The slower his speed is, at least this way, he doesn't outspeed anything with higher than 115, unless you get a lucky plus speed nature. So I think that balances Contrary a bit better, because it is a blatantly broken ability in this sort of context, with all these new move changes. So yeah, thanks for listening. Drop a comment if you made it to this point in the video. I really do appreciate that, guys. I'll be back for more coming up. Peace.